Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. I am your host, Garrett King. And today's episode don't have a whole lot to cover, but do have kind of a major thing that I want to go over. And one of the things that I want to be very clear with you guys is that I am never going to try to hide anything from you. Okay. I want to make that very, very clear up front. So with that being said, I want to let you guys know that there was an error discovered in the math. And the way that it was discovered is just as odd as all of this has been from the very beginning. So I was literally sitting here last week working at just doing my regular job, wasn't working on any of the numbers, doing any of that sort of thing. And out of nowhere, I just had one of those random thoughts again pop into my head. And that random thought was, check your numbers. And it was weird because it was like my heart kind of skipped a beat for a second. And I thought to myself, why am I getting that thought, like to check my numbers? So I immediately went to my spreadsheet that you see right here and opened it up and started looking. And I didn't have to look very hard. It's almost like right where my eyes landed, I saw the mistake. And I can't begin to explain to you how my heart just literally almost just sank down into my feet. Because I thought, oh my God, there's a mistake here. And that is going to change everything. And then I just had this like horrible feeling going through me of like, oh my God, now I'm going to have to do a video explaining how I've been completely wrong this entire time. But thankfully, that's not the case. The error did change two things. And two things only. Kind of major things, but in the grand scheme of everything that's been going on, I consider the change to be minor. Basically, let me pull up this image here for you. This is a screenshot from the video, the second video that I did. And if you look where the red line is, that number, the 3218782. Okay. So you have the red line. Okay. And the number in the first kind of darker gray field is 318,17929. You add 369,963 to it and you get 321,87892. Now, what I was doing is when I was originally going through and generating these numbers, let me jump back to my spreadsheet here so you can see what I'm talking about. So I was allowing the program to do the math for me up to a certain point. So, for example, like right here, this number would be generated, and then I would hand type the number over into this column and then allow the program to automatically add the 369,963, and then I would get the new number. So the program was doing the math for me, but then I would hand type the number over back into the left column. That's where I made a mistake. I fat fingered a number. Okay. So going back to the image, if you look at where the red line is, and you look at the, what is it? The 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth column to where the number 321878892 is. And then if you look below the red line in the left-hand column, immediately below the red line, the number should be 321878892. It should be the exact same number, because what I'm doing is moving the number over and then adding 369963 and getting the new generated number. But if you look closely, you can see where I fat fingered the 9, it should be an 8. So in the image that you're seeing, you'll see the number 321978892. And that number should have technically have been 321878892. It should have been exactly the same as it was here. Okay, so I just should have moved it over. But like I said, I fat fingered the 9 instead of the 8. So what did it change? It changed the binary code numbers. And basically it changed every number below this. Okay. So what technically has happened is where I had said in my second video that when you get to a certain point, the numbers change from being able to come back to 1111. Now they'll come back to 5 ones. That's no longer true. Every single number now will come back to 1111. So that's the first change. They no longer, as the numbers get higher, they no longer come back to 5 ones. And if you're confused about what I'm talking about, go back and watch the other videos. I don't want to have to keep repeating myself and bore those of you who have been watching this from the very beginning. But for those of you who have been watching, you should understand what I'm talking about here. As I had talked in the second video, that as the numbers got higher, the numbers could come back to 5 ones instead of the 4 ones, and that was where the error took place. Every number now will come back to 1111. So that's the first change. The other change is the binary code. That has changed. So that means the binary code that I revealed in the last video is no longer valid. Okay. Disappointing? Absolutely. 100%. But it's invalid. I cannot use that data any longer. What I'm confused about, however, is how that error still led me to a document online for Credit Suisse Bank, whose phone number was 333-1111, and how that company had a board member who was Didier Sornay at one time, and he has come up throughout this entire thing. So that's what I'm confused about. How did my mistake still lead me in that direction? That seems to be, again, like this whole entire thing has beyond coincidence. I can't explain it. I cannot explain it. But the simple fact is the numbers have changed. The binary code has changed because of that one tiny error. So I have to, in order to do this due diligence, I have to toss that information out because the numbers are no longer accurate. I'm going to hold on to the information because I'm still puzzled as to how I was led in that direction, even though the information was wrong. So, one, the numbers will not reduce back to 5 ones. They will all come back to 1111, and I will show you that in just a moment. And 2, the binary code has changed. That is all that has changed. Okay? Surprisingly, I'm super surprised. The fact that the numbers go up and down by 37 has not changed. The fact that the numbers are in the last digits of every number are going in a cycle of 369, 258, 1470 has not changed. Everything else is still perfectly intact. All of the gematria that I was showing you, still perfectly intact. All the cycles that I was showing you, perfectly intact. It's just these numbers no longer come back to 5 ones. It's 1111 all the way through, okay? And the binary code. Those are the only two things that have changed. So when I realized that, then my heart came out of my feet and back up into my chest. So I was slightly disappointed about the binary code, obviously, because like I said, it led me in a direction that seemed completely impossible. It still does, especially now considering that there was an error. But that's the only thing that's changed. So, and I had to recheck these numbers again. I just wanted to make sure that everything is exactly the way that I'm describing it to you. I don't want any of you to think that I am embellishing any of this, that I am making any of this up, that I am leading you astray in different directions. I don't want any of that. If there is an error, if I find an error, I'm going to come to you and tell you. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. There was an error, okay? But in the grand scheme of things, it literally has changed very little, okay? So let me show you what I'm talking about. I took these numbers even higher than I originally had in the past. I ended the last time with like 18 billion something. I took it up to 24 billion. And then in fact, I went over into another spreadsheet and took it all the way up to 100 billion just to check the math. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that this was completely accurate. I don't want any more errors. I don't like finding mistakes. And that mistake was purely on me. I will accept it. I fat fingered a number. I'm human. So here's the number, the 100 billion. It's 100,148,245,285. That number, when you use the 4-digit key that I've talked about, will come back to 1111. Okay, so let me just demonstrate. So the last 4 digits, 5285, 5285, plus the next 4, which is 4824. And then the next 4 is 1001. And boom, we have 4 ones, 1111. And then again, using that same key of taking the last 4 and you move this one over, you have essentially 1111. So that's actually kind of refreshing in a sense, because now it shows the importance of this number 1111. It's no longer going up by one number. So we're still on the 1111. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of, I don't know, interesting. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but I'm just, I think it shows the importance of this 1111 number now that every single number, no matter how high you go, 100 billion is pretty damn high, but still getting it to come back to 1111. I think that shows some sort of validation as far as I'm concerned. Now, there are new numbers that were generated from this mistake. So once it was corrected and the numbers below it changed, new numbers were introduced. New numbers that are nothing but ones and zeros. So there is technically new binary code. And I need to go through and find, because this is a lot of numbers, folks. These are a lot of numbers. So I'm currently working on going through and finding all of the numbers that are nothing but ones and zeros. But something occurred to me, and I'm going to try it both ways. I'm going to go through and find all the numbers that are made up of nothing but ones and zeros only. And then I'm going to go through and look at the numbers that could be technically considered hidden binary code. Well, what do I mean by that? Let me show you. So just looking at the first two numbers here, 371074. Well, what if we start looking at the way that these numbers could be added up? So starting with 3 and 7, you get 10. And then we have 10 in the middle. And then we have 7 and 4, which is 11. Okay, so right there, that could be technically binary code. And then the next number, the same thing. 7 and 4 is 11. Then we have 10 in the middle. And then 3 and 7 is 10. Again, ones and zeros only. And then we have straight up 11, 11 and 3 zeros. So more binary code. Now, it doesn't technically work here because 1 and 4 is 5. So that doesn't work. So I want to go through and check all the numbers that are just ones and zeros, and then all of the numbers that could technically be turned into ones and zeros, if that makes sense. So another example is this number here, 3700741. So 3 and 7 is 10. And then we have 0, 0. 7 and 4 is 11. And then we have 1. So that could technically be a binary number. So doing it both ways, I want to see if there is a message in the binary code or if I'm just chasing a dead end. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's something that I'm currently working on. But like I said, nothing else has changed. Every number, the last digits of every number still follow a sequence of 369, 258, 1470. So let's jump back over here to where I took this all the way up to 100 billion just to show you. So I'm just going to go with the last few numbers here. So if we look right here, we have 369, 258, 1470, 369, 25, and then that's where I stopped. So again, it's following that same cycle. So again, nothing has changed there. And then, like I mentioned, the numbers are going up and down by 37. So let's let me pull up my calculator here. I just want to show you one other thing. Okay, so with the first number, let's jump back. So we have 371074, and the next number is 741037. So this is what I'm referring to for those of you who don't remember or need a refresher. The number's going up and down by 37. So the first number starts with 37. The next number starts with 74. The next number starts with 111. And the last four digits is where the key comes in. So 37 and then doubled is 74. So it's going up by 37. The last four digits, 1074 minus 1037 leaves 37. So they're going up and down by 37, okay? That will still happen even though the numbers have gone up into the 100 billions. I just want to show you guys that this is correct, that I'm not trying to hide anything, and that all the math and everything still works exactly the same, even though there was that tiny error. Okay, so looking at the last four digits of this number, we have 5322. So 5322 minus 5285 is 37. Okay, so it's going up and down by 37. Now we have to look at the whole entire string of the rest of the numbers here. So I just want to show you. So let's start with this one here. So we go 1, 0, 0, 1, 4, 8, 2, 4, and then subtract 1, 0, 0, 1, 4, 7, 8, 8, 7, yeah. Okay, and it equals 37. So I just want to prove to you that it goes up and down by 37 still. Nothing else has changed, okay? All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to what I have actually been working on here lately. I've been trying to make sense out of that website that I showed you guys called the 37 Jesus Code. And it's a little difficult because I do not know Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew. I cannot read Hebrew. I know nothing about Hebrew. But I'm finding connections between the Hebrew Gematria and the Jewish Gematria, which these connections are showing the interconnectedness of Gematria. Now, remember, that was one of the phrases that we got. So, looking at that website and from what I've been learning from it, and I'm kind of on this thing where I feel like I need to learn how to speak Hebrew, or at least read it and understand the language, the numbers, and how they work so that I can continue to find these connections. But I just want to show you some interesting stuff here. So in Hebrew, the Hebrew Bible, the Genesis 1, the first line of Genesis 1. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, okay? In Hebrew, that gives us the value of 2701. In the Jewish Gematria, it gives us the value of 1894. This is going to get a little confusing, but try to bear with me, and you're going to start to see how these connections are taking place, okay? So 1894, when you add those numbers together, 1 plus 8 plus 9 plus 4, you get 22. This number is going to be coming up quite a bit here in this video. So we get 22, which further reduces down to 4. Now, here's what's interesting. The number 1894 will also generate the phrase number 37. Okay. Now remember, 37 is what these numbers are going up and down by. It will also generate the phrase the mathematical universe of creation. All right. Now, other interesting connections. 22. Well, 22 is what you would get if you added 11 plus 11. Now, when you look at the first number that was generated, 371074, when you add each number up individually, 3 plus 7 plus 1 plus 0 plus 7 plus 4 is 22. Now here, this one's really interesting, but the number 37 is the 12th prime number. And its mirror opposite, 73, is the 21st prime number. So when you look at 3773, you have a palindrome. And when you look at 12 and 21, so 1221, you have another palindrome. Now, here's where it's going to get really kind of cool. So the number 37 and its mirror opposite 73. This is where it connects back to the Hebrew version of the Bible. So the phrase, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, in the Hebrew version of the Bible gave us the value of 2701. Now, lost my calculator again. Look what happens when you take 2701 and add its mirror opposite. So when I say mirror opposite, I'm talking about this number reversed. So we have 2701. Now we're going to add 1072. And lo and behold, we have 3773, the same number right here. Now, looking at the number 371074, when you split this into 3 sets of 2 digits, so we have 37, 10, and 74. When you add that together, you get 121, which if you look closely, so it begins with 12, ends in 21, the 12th prime and the 21st prime. Now, check this out. The name Jesus in Jewish Gematria gives us a value of 985. 9 plus 8 plus 5 equals 22. See the connection? So we have 22, 22, 22. It's like 22 is all over the place. And then Christ, the word Christ. And I've said this before, Christ is not a last name. It is more like a title. It means anointed or the anointed one. A lot of people think that Christ is actually Jesus's last name, and it's not. He was Jesus of Nazareth, not Jesus Christ. So again, Christ is a title. But the word Christ gives us the value of 290. Well, 2 plus 9 is 11. So we're connecting back to the 11 number. Now, Jesus Christ, when you add Jesus and then Christ together, so we have 985 plus 290, we get the number 1275. Now, let me show you something here. Going back to my last video, or maybe the one before it, I was talking about the 5 dates that we had for the summer solstice solar eclipse. We had one in 1982. We had one in 2001. We had one in 2020. We had one in 2039, and we'll have one in 2058. All on June 21st. Now, in this column, I showed you the numbers for the complete dates. So when you add all the numbers up, so for example, in this one, when you add all the numbers, 6 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 2, you get 29, which then reduces to 11 because 2 and 9 is 11. And then the next date becomes 12, 13, 23, and 24, and so on. And then you can further reduce those down to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that was the complete date. But then the year did the exact same thing. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And when I looked up the number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, it gave me that whole string of new numbers, but they were spelled out. And then that ultimately turned into the message, multiple infinite waves of love. So for those of you who are just now watching this, you're completely confused, go back and watch the other videos. But I want to show you something interesting here. So when you took the reduction numbers down from the complete date and the year only, and you add those together, so 2 and 2 becomes 4, 3 and 3 becomes 6, 4 and 4 becomes 8, and so on. When you add all of those together, what do you get? The number 22. So this goes back to what I was saying, folks, about, are we referencing the sun as the son of God, or the sun in the sky? And as I've mentioned before, oftentimes they are used as one and the same. Now, the neighbor's dog is barking, so I apologize if you can hear it. This is where it's going to get really strange. So remember, summer solstice solar eclipses. That's what we're talking about here. We're having 5 of them in 19-year cycles, and then we won't have another one for nearly 200 years. But look what the value of Jesus Christ, 1275, gives us the phrase, I am summer solstice solar eclipse. It also gives us the phrase, his true coded scriptures. Do you see the connections taking place here? That's kind of interesting and kind of bizarre. And I wish that dog would shut the hell up. Now, something else very cool. These very cool ways that these numbers are connecting. So I talked about the 12th prime and the 21st prime. Put it together, you have 1221. So when you add 1221 plus 1221, you get 2442. Now that number came up before when I was reducing, or not reducing, but when I split the numbers in half. Now, if you remember, when I talked about doing this, I split the last 4 numbers off, because that's what the code tells us to look at, is the last 4 digits. I separated it and then took the first or the remaining numbers and added those into a column all on their own. Okay, so we start with 37, 74, 111, 148, 185, and so on. I started with the first 11 numbers. Well, look what number we get when we add all those together. 2442. The same number that we get when we take the 12th prime and the 21st prime and put that together and then double that number, we get 2442. Now, up here in the corner, I put the date. So this was last, whatever the second was. I don't even remember what day the second was. Was it Friday, Thursday or Friday? This is the date that I started working on all this and finding these connections. But check this out. So 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. That was the date, December 2nd of this year, 21. When you take this number and this number, okay, so this is the total of taking the first part of the numbers and adding them together, and this is the total from taking the last portion of the numbers and adding them together. So we're going to take 2, 4, 4, 2, and add it to 9, 7, 7, 9. We get the number 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. The exact date that I started piecing all of this together. And the interesting thing is I looked at these numbers before, this number 12221. I looked at it before because when Tony Merkel and I did the live show on his YouTube channel, I was showing him that number, but I didn't make the connection to December 2nd because obviously the day hadn't arrived yet and I hadn't started piecing all of this together. So it's kind of cool to see how these numbers are connecting. And as I had mentioned to Tony too, if we just had one more 2 here in the middle, we would have the release date of the new Matrix film. I know it's a stretch, but I just think it's kind of cool, kind of interesting. And it's also interesting that they're releasing the film on a date that is technically a palindrome. Okay? So they're releasing it 12/22/21. Interesting. But also using the same key that I've been using all along. If you take 221, which is the last 4 digits, and add the remaining, this number would eventually come back to 2222. So that is the path that I'm on right now. I'm exploring more of this Jesus code and this hidden code that is being revealed within the Bible. This seems to have much, much more of a biblical connection than, well, I don't know. I hate to say more than I thought it did, but it seems to have had this sort of biblical, it's a hard word to say, biblical connection from the very beginning, but now it's even more so. It's like really pushing me in that direction to look in this direction and see where this is ultimately going to end up. But I don't know. I find it very interesting that Jesus Christ gives us the value of 1275. And from that number, we get the phrase, I am summer solstice solar eclipse. And I just want to show you that I'm not making this up. So I'm going to copy that text. So 1275. So here's Gematria Nader, and I have it set to Jewish. And I'm just going to paste the phrase in. And as you can see, it gives us the value of 1275. And again, I am summer solstice solar eclipse. And, and I was talking about those 5 dates of a summer solstice solar eclipse. I mean, I hate to be so forward as to say, you know, are we looking at technically what could be considered the second coming of Jesus Christ? I mean, I don't know. But I mean, it's interesting where these numbers are going. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm looking at that website. I'm really exploring Hebrew and finding the connections. And I technically feel like that for these numbers to be generated in Hebrew and then the same, well, not the same numbers, they're going to be different, but to get the same workings, okay, the way that the numbers connect through Hebrew, through Jewish gematria, through all gematria, I think is going to further prove that there is something really behind this, that there is a hidden code. And I think it's going to be really fascinating the more it goes on. But I want to point out a couple of other things. Going back to the number 22. Actually, one other thing that I wanted to show very quickly is with this number 121. So when you take 121 times 37, the number we have here, we get the number 4477. And when you add 44 and 77 together, you'll get the number 121. But when you add the numbers individually, 4 plus 4 plus 7 plus 7, so let's just do it. 4 plus 7, you get 121. And then when you take 4 plus 7 plus 7, bam, you're back to the number 22. So you can see the connections here, folks. You can't deny these connections. I mean, you just simply can't. But here's something interesting. So I pulled this off of the website, the 37 Jesus Code website, and it's talking about the sum of Psalms 22. Okay. And it says the number 22 is considered by many to be one of the most mystical of all numbers, primarily due to the fact that the Hebrew alphabet is composed of 22 letters. The 22nd Psalm is also one of the most mystical of Psalms, as it prophesizes in many ways the crucifixion of Christ on the cross. Christ himself quotes this psalm in one of the most misunderstood verses in the New Testament. While on the cross, he says the first 4 words of the verse, which is the way Psalms were referenced prior to their being numbered. In these 4 words, Christ was citing all the prophecies in this psalm about his crucifixion. This supernatural feat, more than any math, should convince the skeptic of the divinity of the Son of God. This fact has been known for some time. What was not known until now is that Jesus was also making a cryptic reference to the practice of Gematria. For the first verse of Psalm 22 has the same sum value as the name of Jesus in Hebrew. Okay, see those connections? Now, the 22nd triangle of Psalm 22, if you took all the words from Psalm 22, you could put them into this perfect triangle. And it makes up 22 rows. It's 253 words in 22 rows. You get this triangle, which is interesting because that ties back to the Gematria phrase that we got called, what was it? Circle in square in triangle. So again, more connections. But that's where I'm at right now, is working on comparing what I'm doing with the numbers I've generated and then looking at the Hebrew version of the Bible and the Gematria used in the Hebrew side and seeing how they connect. And as you can see right now, I'm already finding connections big time. So really don't know where it's leading at this point. It's still a huge puzzle, but it's just so interesting to me. All of this is just so interesting. And again, the fact that there was an error, really in the grand scheme of things, hasn't changed anything in relation to the way this is right now. It's only changed the binary code and the fact that, the numbers don't end in 5 ones anymore, which I'm perfectly fine with. I just wish that I had discovered the error before and never went down that path. But I don't know. I hate to even say that it feels like it was designed to be that way, because then that makes it sound like, well, I'm using that as an excuse to make it fit the narrative. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just stating the obvious, that it is bizarre that this mistake still led me to that document on the web, following the 333 and 1111 numbers, and that connection to Didier Sornay is just bizarre to me, even though it was an error. It's just bizarre. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I know it's not a huge update, but I just wanted to, first of all, make you guys aware of that mistake that was made, but to just reassure you that it has not changed anything other than the binary code and the numbers coming back to 5 ones. That's all it changed. And that in of itself, I think, is impressive, because I really thought that, the shit was going to hit the fan at that point and that everything was going to change, and it didn't. To me, that's really impressive. So, but there you have it. That's what I have for now. I know it's not a super huge update, but I just, again, wanted to make you aware of the error, and I wanted to show you where these connections are starting to take me at this point. So hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone had a great holiday. For those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving, I had a really good time with my folks. My mom and stepdad came up from Houston early, and we had an early Thanksgiving at my brother's. And then 2 days after, everyone, except for me and my husband, came down with COVID, which was bizarre. There was like 10 of us there, and we are the only 2 who did not get sick. Very bizarre. And then now my stepfather, James, is, he just last Thursday or Friday night, he had a heart attack. So he's in the hospital. He's okay. He's stable. He's talking. Everything's good, but they are going to have to do bypass surgery So anyone who would like to send prayers, please do. So yeah, my folks have really had a really rough past 3 weeks. My brother has had a really rough past 3 weeks because he also suffers from hemochromatosis. So having that on top of COVID and his COVID turned into pneumonia. I mean, they've all had it rough. So yeah, it's been a very odd 3 weeks for everyone. So there you have it. And that's kind of why I haven't done a video in the past few weeks, is just because all of that's been going on. And then of course discovering this error just kind of, set me back. But then as I went through and started rechecking everything and seeing that, those were the only two things that changed out of all of this, well, that made me feel a little bit better that I was still on the right track. So still would like to know where these thoughts are coming from. These thoughts like telling me to check your numbers, it's like, where were you before? Why didn't you tell me that before when the mistake was first made? Why did I have to go through this whole entire process of showing this information? I thought I was going, in the right direction with the binary code, only to discover I have to throw it all out. I'm not going to throw it out. I'm just going to set it to the side because I still find it interesting that the connections that were made from a mistake. It's odd. So there you have it, folks. That's all I really have for now. And like I said, as more stuff reveals itself, I will be putting out more videos. So if it seems like it's taking a little while for, between the times I put out a video, it's just because I'm still working and trying to find connections and trying to get enough information and cool stuff to show you guys. If I come across something minor, I don't want to just make a video for just the sake of doing it. I want to make sure I have something kind of cool and interesting for you. So until next time, I hope everyone takes care. And if I don't talk to you before Christmas, I hope everyone has a great holiday. And hopefully I will do another video before then. I hope. Fingers crossed. And fingers really crossed that I don't come across any other errors or mistakes. I don't think I will. But yeah, so just wanted to keep you guys in the loop. So until next time, take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.